Tonight, we have a very unusual discussion here. The first time we've ever done this. Lauren Van Scoy, a pulmonary and critical care doctor at Hahnemann Hospital in Philadelphia, is the author of a very interesting book, Last Wish, Stories to Inspire a Peaceful Passing, and actually inspired this program. Dr. Mark Angelo is the director of palliative care at Cooper University Hospital in Camden, New Jersey, and Alicia Bloom is a social worker with VITAS Innovative Hospice Care in Philadelphia. First of all, Lauren, you're an intensive care doctor. What prompted you to write this book? I mean, it does read like a medical thriller, and it is a book that I wouldn't say popularizes, but makes people really think more about the end as well as everything else in between. What prompted you to write this?
Well, a lot of this was experiences that I sort of had as, a young physician and sort of growing and developing through my training. And I was finding that in the intensive care unit, a lot of the families that I was encountering were having really, really hard times dealing with some of these end-of-life issues, and I was seeing the same thing over and over again. And it was interesting to me that I really wanted them to sort of learn from each other's experiences and talk to each other in the waiting rooms. And so I thought that by writing it down in a way that was compelling and easy to read and not medically sort of jargoned and written, that other people could learn from each other's experiences.
Well, some of the stories in here are really heartfelt. They're dramatic, but it's interesting to read about it. It's different when you're there, isn't it?
It's very different when you're there. You have the professional side to you and you have the emotional side to you, and it's very important, and we get a lot of training as physicians to sort of keep those things separate. And one of the beautiful things about writing for me and writing this book was that I was able to take the emotional side of me and put it down on paper and talk about my feelings and talk about the experiences I was having, and also to interview the patients and their family members and to learn about their experiences and their feelings. And it taught me a lot as I was writing the book and talking to the people that I wrote about.
And a family comes to you, and you're the person who has to sit down with them. Along with the doctor team. They usually get a team together.
That's right.
And that must be, that reality, that moment that they find out we can't save the person, or maybe we shouldn't save the person, and they have that family discussion. Has to be the most difficult conversation in all of medicine, I would imagine.
I would agree, and I think the biggest challenge, and something that I really see in my work with patients and families at VITAS, is that they're so unprepared for the moment that this conversation is about to happen. And so we are sitting them down in a room, as Dr. Van Scoy and Dr. Angelo I know all too well, to share with them very difficult information that is going to change the way that they think about their own life and their future as people and as families.
Lauren, when you look at the book here, it's obvious to me that there's no one answer for everybody.
No, absolutely not.
And everybody thinks, well, there's an answer. We just do it, we just decide, and that's it.
Right.
How do you get to that moment where, first of all, you have the family meeting, or maybe you talk to the person if they're able to talk about it? How do you get to that moment?
Well, I think, when you have a family meeting, or you have to have these discussions, we try our best not to sort of intimidate the family or bring them into a room and sit them in a box. Usually it's the entire team helps us with the process, starting with the nurses and the social workers and even just the people around the ICU that have gotten to know, the families day in and day out. And I think that, when we have the patients and the families in the room together, we talk mostly about outcomes and what it is that they hope and what we hope that their expectations can be, and are those reasonable expectations. And that's really where we start with these meetings, not so much, this is option A and option B, but we talk about what the meaningful outcomes might be, and we try to get to the bottom of what it is that they want and what they think their family member would want.
If I were hospitals in the area, I would take this book and put my symbol on the bottom and give it to everybody.
I would love that.
Every hospital in the nation should. Now, your organization is a standardized organization. You're around the country.
Yes, we are.
Do you work in particular hospitals or just everywhere?
Yeah, VITAS Innovative Hospice Care is the nation's leading hospice provider. We've been around since 1978, and we take care of people where they are. So we have the privilege of seeing patients and families in their homes, in nursing homes and in hospital settings as well.
A lot of wonderful nursing facilities in this area, but more and more we hear, now we don't know specifically, that a lot of people would rather be at home.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at the literature and you see what patients say they want at end of life, time and time again, they say that they want to be at home. And they want to be, as Dr. Angelo said, pain-free and surrounded by their loved ones in a familiar setting. And so at VITAS, we're really committed to honoring people's wishes and giving them the choices they need to be in the setting that they want to be.
Well, maybe VITAS should get this book and distribute it nationwide. What do you think?
I'm
promoting the book here, obviously, but because I really...
I think that's a great idea.
I know Dr. Van Scoy likes that idea. I think that it's an incredibly important book with an incredibly valuable message, because I think one of the biggest challenges is that people are afraid of this topic. They're afraid to talk about death and dying, and as we all know, none of us are leaving here alive, right? None of us are getting out of here alive. And so I think the more that we can do to encourage people to have these conversations with their loved ones, the more empowered they are to have control over their care.
Interesting aspect of this, Dr. Angelo, is the idea that you're not only taking care of yourself, but you're also probably making the road a lot easier for the people who love you, which is, you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, death, no matter how much you prepare for it, when it actually happens, it's very, very sudden and striking to most people, but in this way, it might make it a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And in palliative care, we do consider that the patient is the primary target, but really we focus around the whole family too. So we have to bring in loved ones because we realize that someone's disease affects how their husband sees them, and it may affect how their children see them. And there are so many aspects to delivering good care at the end of life. This is why when we talk about palliative care, we talk about what we call an interdisciplinary team. Interdisciplinary team is made up of a physician, it's made up of a nurse, it's made up of a social worker. We bring in spiritual care in many different iterations. So what we do is we try to bring everyone to the table to say, how can we help this patient? How can we help their family? And what can we do to really make this the best experience and have this family come through this as emotionally intact as we possibly can?
Last Wish by Dr. Lauren Van Scoy, a native of this area, and we thank her for coming on along with Alicia Bloom and Dr. Mark Angelo, Director of Palliative Care at Cooper University Hospital. Thanks for watching. It's a difficult subject, but certainly one that has to be talked about rather now than later. Have a great night.